Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Marilyn's Eyes. Marilyn's Eyes is an Italian comedy drama that tells the story of two characters, a man named Diego and a woman named Clara, both of whom are committed to a rehabilitation center for people with mental health issues, and they both find themselves bored and going insane from the day-to-day routine of living there. After a series of incidents occur involving the two, they decide to team up together and use their skills to turn their treatment center into a restaurant for the public to enjoy, and they both experience the ups and downs of this impromptu business while bonding with each other at the same time. This proved to be a charming story to experience. It reminded me of Jon Favreau's Chef, with how it starts off on the moodier side before it begins to take off with its restaurant plot and becomes more positive. It is hampered with some issues with pacing, but the likable characters help make up for this. The first main character, Diego, is introduced in rather humorous fashion as a chef fired from his job, which helps the audience get a sense of his character right away, and he has a fleshed out backstory on top of this, having a family of his own, but being separated from them due to problems associated with his temper. Although I understood why Diego had to be where he was, I still felt bad for him. He's weighed down by the burden of his disorder and outbursts of anger that can occur at any given moment, and all he wants to do is get back to cooking and be there for his daughter, yet he has restrictions in doing so, and this helped me become more emotionally invested in his character. The other main character, Clara, was quite intriguing too. She has her own backstory as well that explains her presence at rehab, which is more tragic compared to Diego's. So although her character is more joking and easygoing, there's an underlying sadness to her character that becomes more evident later on. Once again, I found it easy to sympathize with her character, as she wants to go back to exploring her passions, in her case being an actress, but her actions and attitude keep her stuck in rehab time and time again, and this causes her to become fearful when it comes time to pursue a meaningful opportunity, which is something that I think everyone can relate to in some way. The relationship between the two characters is something that takes a while to build. The two come from completely different walks of life, so it makes sense that they would initially be apprehensive toward each other. At the same time, I was kind of surprised at how well the two complemented each other. Diego is easy to rile up, but he always looks at life from a more optimistic point of view, whereas Clara, despite how jovial she is at first glance, lacks confidence in herself and is upset that she continues to deal with her circumstances. Both of them have to contend with the stigma of how others perceive them as well, due to their individual reasons for staying at the rehab center, so they're able to relate to each other in a way that others can't, which makes their relationship unfold in a believable manner once it starts to lean in a more romantic direction. Setting up the rehab center's kitchen as the Monroe restaurant was a great idea and definitely the most entertaining part of the movie. Although Diego and Clara have some experience in areas relating to it, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into at first, which results in a lot of funny scenarios taking place. A lot of this movie's comedy comes into play here. Diego will lose his temper against a radiator and cause a flood, a rehab patient will paint disturbing images on the wall, or bizarre dishes will be improvised on the spot. I never knew what to expect from the ragtag group of individuals managing the place, which made it easy to laugh when something inevitably goes wrong. While I enjoyed the restaurant scenes immensely, I found myself wondering why it took so long for the movie to get to these parts of the story. The idea of the restaurant is never mentioned until the story is almost halfway over, with most of the runtime beforehand dedicated to lengthy dialogue scenes between Diego and Clara and other patients at the center. On one hand, I can appreciate that this is meant to build the characters and the bonds between them, as well as a general sense of camaraderie for everyone involved, but on the other hand, this dialogue goes on for a lot longer than it needs to, and at times it feels like it's repeating itself. I do like that there is some time dedicated to the other patients at the center though. They all have unique personalities, with Gina being mute, Susanna having Tourette's, Armando suffering from paranoid delusions, and Chip dealing with anxiety. They're not particularly deep characters, but they all contribute to the story in their unique way. This being said, there were some characters that didn't add all that much to the story, like with Adelaide, who's associated with Clara. I was never sure if she was a relative or a friend of Clara's, as she doesn't have that much to go on in the way of detail, and she only appears in 2 scenes that I can recall, neither of them being that significant. It doesn't matter that much anyway, since the rehab center and the characters residing there are the main focus of the movie, along with it the theme surrounding perception of mental illness and how normal people affect them. Throughout the movie, the audience sees how Diego, Clara, and the other patients are judged by others, both for actions that they are and aren't responsible for. The lead characters in particular laments lament this predicament, with one of them going so far as to say that they aren't being seen, or their potential isn't recognized. This premise is actually quite thought-provoking, as it shows that one can't really judge a book by its cover. Diego has to prove to his ex-wife that he can recover and make himself stable again, yet she's understandably wary of him due to his aggressive tendencies and is worried that history will repeat itself. Meanwhile, Clara has to contend with her therapist Paris, who is unimpressed with her reckless behavior and thus is forced to punish her with increasing levels of disciplinary action, while encouraging her to improve upon herself. Both her and Diego's behaviors remain thematically consistent and may be considered the actions they took to get better. Even the restaurant Monroe and the actress it's named after is sort of a play on this concept of judgment. Despite her being rich, beautiful, and famous, she lived a very troubled life that was plagued by personal tragedy, and she received a ton of negative publicity because of it without others being able to see things from her perspective. Similarly with the rehab patients, all people may see with them at first glance is how strange and disturbed they are when they actually have a lot of potential to explore when given the opportunity to do so. The movie uses comedy to highlight their strengths in a lighthearted manner that is effective and poignant. I did find myself wishing that some of the illnesses were a bit less stereotypical in their presentation. For example, Susanna's Tourette's is made out to be a swearing disorder when swearing isn't actually as common with it as people may think, and the jokes that are used with her condition get old pretty quickly. Nevertheless, it is nice that the movie is able to balance both comedy and drama to its benefit, and it helps that it's backed up by an endearing aesthetic presentation, consisting of a peppy ambient soundtrack and charming Italian scenery that helps add to the pleasant vibe this movie puts forward. Overall, Marilyn's Eyes is an enjoyable dramedy that explores the influence those with mental health challenges can have on society, and does so in a way that's both charming and significant. If you like movies that feature both comedy and drama, and you're looking for one that explores the topic of mental health, I think you might enjoy watching this movie. Some of its supporting characters require more depth, and it is slow to get going, but once it did, I was hooked. The two main characters, the successful balance of drama and humor, and its themes make it a unique piece of cinema that I hope will promote further recognition of the importance of one's mental health. What did you think about this movie? Did you like its blend of serious topics with silly situations, or did you find its pacing to be a bit too slow? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Marilyn's Eyes. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American family feature, Rescued by Ruby. Bye bye!